Some of the most painful betrayals don't begin with lipstick on a collar or a late-night confession. They begin quietly. They begin in subtle behavioral shifts so small you question yourself before you question him. And that's why so many women ignore the early signs, not because they're naive, not because they're desperate, but because the change doesn't look like betrayal at first. It looks like stress. It looks like work. It looks like mood swings. It looks like nothing. If you've ever felt that strange tightness in your chest when he said he'd be home late, if you've ever sensed distance you couldn't logically explain, if his words said, "We're fine," but his energy felt elsewhere, this video is for you. Today, we're decoding the subtle behavioral patterns that often appear before a man cheats, not through fear, not through accusation, but through male psychology. Because men rarely wake up one day and suddenly cheat. The shift starts earlier, long before the act, long before the confession, long before the proof. Let's begin. Number 1. He becomes unusually calm during conflict. This one confuses many women. A man who used to argue, defend himself, explain his perspective, suddenly stops engaging. You bring up something that bothers you, and instead of reacting, he shrugs. Do whatever you want. It's not that deep. Why are you overthinking? It looks like maturity, but often it's detachment. When a man's emotional investment starts shifting elsewhere, he conserves energy at home. He stops fighting for the relationship because internally he's already distributing his emotional focus somewhere else. Conflict requires care. Indifference requires distance, and distance is often the first quiet step. Number 2. His phone becomes strategically positioned. Not just protected, positioned. Face down, on silent, within arm's reach, never left unattended. When nothing is happening, a phone is a tool. When something is happening, a phone becomes an object of risk management. He may not act nervous, he may not snatch it away dramatically. Instead, he becomes smooth, too smooth. He angles the screen slightly away. He responds quickly but vaguely. He steps out to take this call when he used to answer beside you. Men don't guard what's harmless. They guard what could collapse the narrative they're maintaining. Number 3. His compliments decrease or become mechanical. This is subtle. If he used to notice details, your hair, your outfit, your effort, and now he barely reacts, that's not comfort. That's redirected attention. Or sometimes it flips the other way. He becomes overly polite, overly neutral. Yeah, you look nice, but the spark isn't there. Desire has a signature. You can feel it. And when a man's attraction energy is being stimulated elsewhere, his baseline responsiveness at home shifts. Not dramatically, gradually. Number 4. His schedule becomes less transparent. Notice this carefully. When a man is emotionally anchored to you, he shares details naturally. Not because you asked, because you're part of his world. But when he begins managing two realities, information becomes filtered. He answers the question you asked, but nothing extra. Where were you? Out? With who? Friends? Not technically lying, just strategically minimal. Specificity creates accountability. Vagueness creates flexibility, and flexibility is useful when you're balancing secrets.
Number 5. He improves his appearance without including you. Men cheat differently than women emotionally, but preparation patterns exist in both. When a man is investing his attraction energy somewhere new, it rarely starts with a hotel room. It starts in the mirror. If he suddenly upgrades his wardrobe, buys fitted shirts instead of the loose ones he used to wear, replaces old sneakers with polished shoes, starts grooming more precisely, trims his beard more often, changes his haircut, hits the gym with unusual intensity, or buys a new cologne, pause. Growth itself is not the issue. The question is, who is the audience? Because when growth is shared, it feels bonding. Do you like this on me? What do you think of this scent? Come with me to the store. But when growth is hidden, it feels performative. If he's improving but never invites your opinion, if he dresses sharply for just work but barely reacts when you notice, if his energy feels outward-facing rather than relationship-centered, you will feel it. Men do not optimize for no audience. There is always an audience. The real question is whether that audience is still you. And when attraction begins to shift, it often shifts quietly, long before loyalty breaks physically. Number 6, his intimacy rhythm changes. This one is critical, because intimacy exposes truth faster than conversation. He may initiate less. He may become distant in bed. He may rush. He may feel distracted. Or, strangely, he may initiate more. Suddenly more touch, more urgency, more effort. But the emotional texture feels different. If he initiates less, it can signal emotional diversion. When a man's desire is being stimulated elsewhere, his baseline hunger at home changes. It doesn't disappear overnight, it just recalibrates. If he initiates more, especially suddenly, it can signal guilt compensation. In male psychology, guilt often expresses through physical reassurance, more touching, more closeness, more performance, not from deepened connection, from internal conflict. He is trying to prove to you and to himself that nothing has changed. Watch the quality, not just the quantity. Is he present or performing? Does he look into your eyes or avoid them? Does he feel emotionally engaged or mechanically enthusiastic? There's a difference, and your body knows it. Number 7, he protects his alone time more aggressively. Alone time is healthy. Every man needs space to think, decompress, breathe. But defensive isolation is different. If he becomes irritated when you enter the room unexpectedly, if he locks doors he never used to lock, if he angles his screen away automatically, if he guards me time like territory instead of inviting you into his world, that's not independence, that's containment. When a man is juggling conversations or emotional attachments, uninterrupted access becomes crucial. Privacy shifts from preference to protection. You'll notice the tone change. Instead of, "Hey, I just need a little time to unwind," it becomes sharp, defensive, almost territorial. The intensity won't match the situation, and that mismatch is the clue. You're not imagining the shift, you're observing access control. Number 8, he preemptively accuses you of insecurity. This is psychological redirection. You notice something small, a schedule inconsistency, a tone shift, a guarded phone. You ask calmly, and suddenly you're overthinking, paranoid, too emotional, looking for problems, trying to start drama. This move is not random. If he validates your suspicion, even slightly, he has to confront it internally, and confrontation creates pressure. So instead, he destabilizes your confidence. If you doubt yourself, you stop observing him. If you feel guilty for asking, you stop asking. If you fear being labeled insecure, you silence your intuition. And that buys him time. Gaslighting rarely begins aggressively. It begins subtly, with small dismissals, small invalidations, until you start questioning your own perception more than his behavior. Number 9, his emotional reactions feel delayed. When you share something vulnerable, a fear, a win, a frustration, he responds, but it feels slightly off, late, distracted, fragmented. He hears you, but he's not fully with you, because attention is a limited resource, and when it's divided, emotional presence weakens. You'll notice he asks fewer follow-up questions. He forgets details you told him. He nods, but doesn't engage. He may still say, "I love you," but love without attentiveness feels hollow, and your nervous system registers that absence before your logic does. You start feeling alone in conversations you used to feel safe in. That emotional loneliness is often the earliest warning sign. Number 10, multiple small shifts start syncing together. This is the part that matters most. Anyone can have stress. Anyone can have an off week. Anyone can change habits once. But when his shown shifts, his tone shifts, his schedule shifts, his intimacy shifts,
his defensiveness increases, his eye contact decreases, his patience shortens, his transparency fades. That's not coincidence. That's pattern synchronization. Truth lives in clusters, not isolated events. One shift can be explained. 5 shifts form a narrative. And here's what you must understand. Not every behavioral change means cheating, but consistent emotional redirection always means something. Men don't wake up and betray. They drift first. They justify second. They act last. By the time there's proof, there were patterns. And sensing patterns does not make you insecure. It makes you perceptive. Ignoring them does not preserve the relationship. It only postpones clarity. If this gives language to something you've been quietly feeling, don't ignore that awareness. You don't need panic. You need observation. Because observation brings truth into the light without chaos. So tell me, what was the first shift you noticed? Not the dramatic one, the subtle one. Because sometimes the quiet changes tell the loudest story.